starting a war for change he believes he can win. Bernard Kamilllius Membe is not an ordinary political personality. He is not an elderly politician whose time is considered to be over. He is an unassuming character, a bit reserved, very diplomatic, and depending on whom he is engaged in conversation, he exercises economy of words, until when he wants to send a clear message. He doesn't hesitate to discern his true self by speaking too loud to silence. I traveled over 400 km from Dar es Salaam to Lindi in southern Tanzania to have an interview with him over his intention to run for presidency on the ticket of the United Opposition, in this election year of the Lord 2020. Lindi is not so sleepy a township. It does not repel, but has yet to gain the ambience and cosmopolitan attraction of Dar es Salaam. I have not been to Lindi since 1992, when I last visited the sleepy township, when things used to start late in the morning and close early in the evening at about 17:00 hours. 27 years have passed since my last visit, and a lot of water has passed under the bridge. Southern Tanzania, which in the distant past civil servants, businessmen, and investors rejected with abandon for posting and setting business. Because of its underdeveloped infrastructure, poor social service, and availability of acute poverty of the peasant population, it is now the new development frontier in Tanzania, witnessing rapid economic advancement of the local economy. Cashew nuts, which is the second foreign exchange earner, between 2015 to 2018 US $2.5 billion per annum, but due to government wanton intervention in arbitrary setting the price, the annual foreign exchange earning from cashew nuts has fallen to US $700 million. Tanzania needs real agricultural transformation for introducing technology, use of chemical fertilizers, proper marketing, and agro-processing for value addition and supply chain. Rural industrialization cannot succeed unless and until agriculture is transformed. The state needs to play an active role by increasing public investment in agriculture, as well attracting FDI and private investments in the agricultural sector. Besides improving traditional cash crops like coffee, cotton, and sisal, it is imperative new crops, i.e. avocado, tropical fruits, and other exotic crops, need to be introduced. The discovery of huge quantities of gas. Tanzania has discovered 57 trillion cubic feet of gas, and public investment in infrastructure development have improved the economic and social status of the people of southern regions, namely the regions of Lindi, Mpura, and Ruvuma. The heavy traffic on the roads, booming small-scale businesses, and gas exploration and energy-related projects show that southern Tanzania has the potential of becoming a commercial agricultural hub and is a yet-to-be-exploited tourist destination. Reaching Lindi in the late afternoon of the 6th day of the week, I easily found my way to Mdanda, the once posh colonial suburb, where Honorable Membe's residence is located. A well-laid and refurbished colonial bungalow that carry the environmental beauty of innovative design. The location is now occupied by the emerging middle class, consisting of political and economic entrepreneurs who are joining hands with fellow citizens in the process of national reconstruction. I found Bernard Membe seated under the shade of a big mango tree, which has all signs of good tidings. The mango tree is abundantly laden with early summer season flowering, signaling that mangoes will be plentiful this season. And so will the election results, which will see Membe triumphantly clinching the presidency. I was thrilled to meet Membe. We always meet in Dar es Salaam and for a short while. But in Lindi we have plenty of time, and my plan for interviewing him on what was to be revised in order to capture as much as possible. After pleasantries, we plunged into brainstorming about my assignment. He started off by explaining the meaning of independence and its relevance in today's struggle against creeping authoritarianism. His statement spoke volumes. Our fathers and mothers fought independence so that Tanzanians would live freely without any fear or wanton anxiety for their lives, because the Big Brother is watching, intimidating, incarcerating, torturing, and/or killing those who raise their voice for freedom. Forcing people to escape from freedom is against the constitutional principle of a free people's pursuit of happiness. Note that according to UN Happiness Report 2019, Tanzania occupies the 4th position from bottom of the most unhappy people in the world. It is only ahead of the war-torn countries of Afghanistan, Central African Republic and Southern Sudan. It goes without saying that the reason why Tanzanians are the most unhappy people is because of lack of self-confidence, lack of social capital, poverty, institutional subordination, repression, and suppression of basic freedoms, combined elements of controlled democracy and authoritarianism. He returned to the theme of Cry the beloved country Tanzania, which was home of African, Third World diplomacy and liberation diplomacy, has isolated itself from Strategic Alliance African Union, East African Community, EAC, beside withdrawing from Open Society Program Charter for Refugees, and has not ratified African Charter for Human Rights and Democracy. Good many innocent people are sleeping through the revolution because they want to avoid associated risks of active engagement. As Martin Luther King wrote in his book, The World House, the survival is to stay awake, adjust to new ideas, remain vigilant, and face the challenge of change. Membe is completing the first stage of disassociating himself from the ruling party CCM, which he joined many decades ago, and now the party has called for divorce. He says that the authoritarian struggle he is leading is not only for the benefit of the political opposition. People in all walks of life, ordinary citizens, members of the ruling party, faith-based organizations, business community, and civil society face uncertain times. They need to join hands and join the social movement for democratic change and inclusive growth. After listening to him for quite a while, I chose the title of my conversion with him to be Membe Starting a War. He believes he can win. I chose that title because Membe's reasons for wanting to fight and win the presidency seems to me to be the real reasons for opposing Machiavelli's continuation in personifying tyranny. He started off by saying that the war he started some years back was almost reaching an anticlimax. In the first year of his rule, it was clear that Machiavelli, who campaigned by trying to distance himself from the ruling party, which had nominated him, was becoming personalist in his approach to leadership of the party and the state. He was promoting the cult and delusion that personalist rule can solve the structural problems facing Tanzania and the world at large. Membe has declared himself to be an instrument of reforms. His conceptualization of reform gives a wider meaning and emphasis to the real problems of development and self-management. He's well aware of the difficult road ahead, but his determination to take on the forces which are greater, cannot be likened to what we have seen before. He draws his strength from encouragement and support from people of all walks of life, irrespective of political affiliations, faith, young and old. I perused thousands of messages encouraging him to continue fighting and promises of spiritual and material support. Membe is fully convinced that Tanzania is backsliding towards authoritarianism. Machiavelli's economistic thinking leads him to think that the way to implement his developmentalist tall order of megaprojects he has prioritized for implementation is to accumulate and concentrate power in his own person. The logic of development in Machiavelli's thinking is that he can engineer rapid economic development before democracy, forgetting that democracy is at the heart of economic development and growth. It is possible to have rapid economic growth without democracy, but the example of the Arab Spring tells a lot about the hollowness of embarking on the path of economic growth before democracy. The main issue of the contention why/many third world countries, especially in Africa, have failed to reach the takeoff to sustainable development, is that governments have not created viable political and social institutions to support economic reconstruction. Tanzania claims to have made advancement in the past 5 years, and the country is basking in self-congratulatory mood of having climbed to the status of middle-income countries as announced by the World Bank recently. Yes, statistics do not lie, but it all depends how one uses them. A significant percentage of Tanzanians are going hungry every day. Malnutrition is rife among children under 5 years. The government has no means to assist them materially, but even the non-state organizations which could help them are restricted and actually prevented from doing so because the government harbors anxiety that their work could be used for political purposes, passing judgment even before the crime is committed. His critique of Machiavelli's economic thrust even goes further, with the claim that the megaprojects President Machiavelli has prioritized for implementation focusing on development of things, not a mutual combination of development of things and people. People did not participate in the debate on revamping Air Tanzania, the construction of Stiegler's Gorge hydroelectricity dam and the financing of the megaprojects. Thus the propaganda machine of the government is bombing people with a litany of the projects which have been completed as the last year of Magufuli's presidency comes to a close in November. What is missing is the voice of the people about how their lives as individuals and as members of the communities have improved. On economic reconstruction, Membe introduces the idea of having a new development model which looks at the contribution of diverse partners to deliver positive impact and solve different aspects of a complex problem. Agricultural modernization by way of introducing commercial farming and prioritizing certain crops to be grown in selected areas for food security and export is the focus of making agriculture an industry in its own right and a dependable sector for agro-processing industry and rural industrialization as well. He is against banking on development of things at the development of people. The focus on measuring not just outcomes but impact and not how many desks provided, teachers hired, but what quality of education, skills, and knowledge they can deploy productively in decent jobs. We conclude the conversation with Mr. Bernard Kamilllius Membe with his very important statement that democracy is the only future of the country.